Good evening.
Hi, friends.
We interrupt tonight's program.
Do you hear them outside?
Do not answer your door.
Hey guys, VAM here. We just wanted to thank you all so much for tuning into the channel tonight. Your support truly means everything to us as we continue building these late-night horror stories together. If you're interested in story inquiries, submissions, or collaborations, feel free to contact us. You can find our contact information in the description below. And before tonight's tape begins, just a quick reminder. All original stories are written and owned by VHS After Midnight. Unauthorized reposts, adaptations, or narrations are strictly prohibited. Also, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoy the content. It really helps support the channel. Tonight's story is called The Voices We Borrow, written by Ravyn Crowe. Turn the lights off, get comfortable, and enjoy the tape. Sleep always came hardest after midnight. That was what Alana Walker used to tell herself during the long hours she spent staring at the ceiling of her apartment, listening to the slow, mechanical hum of the box fan in the corner of her room. There had been a time when sleep came easily, before Caleb disappeared, before the nights became something she had to survive. It had been 3 years since her older brother vanished from the Woods Sleep Restoration Institute. The clinic told her family he had left treatment voluntarily. No surveillance footage, no witnesses, no goodbye, just paperwork, a carefully worded statement, and quiet, polished apologies from people who never once looked her in the eye. Alana had never believed them. Some nights, when exhaustion left her too hollow to cry, she replayed Caleb's final voicemail until sunrise. The recording was only 30 seconds long. Static crackled beneath his voice. He sounded terrified. "Lainey, listen to me." A shaky breath. "No matter what they tell you, don't come here." Silence, then softer. "And if you ever start hearing things at night..." The static swallowed half the sentence. "Don't fall asleep." The message always ended there, abruptly, as if something had cut him off. She had memorized every breath, every tremor, every second of fear. It was the closest thing she had left of him. And now, 3 years later, she was beginning to hear voices of her own. It started with whispers. Soft conversations outside her bedroom door when no one was there. Her name spoken from empty hallways. Fragments of speech curling through the dark just as she drifted toward sleep. At first, she blamed stress, then grief, then sleep deprivation. Until the recording, it had been her roommate, Mia's idea. "Film yourself sleeping," she'd said. "If nothing happens, at least we'll know." So Alana propped her phone against the dresser and hit record. The footage was normal for the first 3 hours. At exactly 3:17 a.m., everything changed. Her sleeping body jerked upright. Her eyes remained closed. Her face was blank. Slowly, unnaturally, her head turned toward the camera. And then she spoke, not in her own voice. The voice was deep, male, calm, wrong. "She's beginning to hear us." Alana's lips twisted into something close to a smile. Then the voice continued. Alana was always the easier one to keep asleep. The next morning, she and Mia watched the footage in horrified silence. Then the voice shifted, still speaking through Alana's sleeping mouth, still calm. It said, "The watch is still beneath the floorboard, Mia." The color drained from Mia's face. "What?" "The watch," Alana whispered. "What does that mean?" Mia's breathing turned shallow. "My dad hid his watch under the loose floorboard in our old hallway before he died." Her voice cracked. "I never told anyone that." That was what finally drove Alana to the Woods Sleep Restoration Institute. The same place Caleb had disappeared. The same place he had begged her never to go. The clinic sat 2 hours outside the city behind towering white gates and carefully manicured hedges. It looked less like a hospital and more like an exclusive wellness retreat. A sleek glass structure reflected the afternoon sunlight. Water flowed through a marble fountain near the entrance. Everything gleamed. Everything looked expensive. Everything looked designed to be trusted. Inside, soft instrumental music drifted through the lobby. The air smelled faintly of lavender. Warm amber light washed over white stone floors and minimalist furniture. The first thing Alana noticed was what wasn't there. Clocks. There were none. Not on the walls. Not behind the reception desk. Not anywhere. For a sleep clinic where time should have mattered more than anything, the absence felt deliberate. At the front desk, the receptionist looked up and smiled. "Ms. Walker," she said warmly, "we've been expecting you." Alana froze. She hadn't spoken, hadn't introduced herself. Before she could respond, she noticed a young woman sitting in the waiting area. Pale, exhausted. Dark circles hollowed the skin beneath her eyes. She stared at Alana with something that looked almost like pity. Then she whispered, "Alana Walker? How do you know my name?" The girl glanced nervously towards the hallway, then leaned forward. "He said if you ever came here..." Her voice trembled. "It means he finally lost." Before Alana could ask what she meant, a nurse appeared beside the girl. Patient interaction isn't permitted outside supervised hours. Her tone was perfectly calm. The girl was gently guided away. As they disappeared down the hall, another nurse crossed the intersecting corridor behind reception, guiding a second patient. This one was younger, messy dark hair, a blank, distant expression. She was muttering softly to herself. The nurse spoke with patient firmness. "Nora, please, look at me." The muttering stopped. A pause. Then the nurse said quietly, "You're awake now. You're safe." For a moment, the young woman lifted her face. Her expression was hollow. Not afraid, not confused, just empty. Then she was guided around the corner and gone. Before Alana could process what she had seen, the office doors opened. Dr. Jasmine Woods stepped into the lobby. She was elegant in an understated way. Soft brown hair pinned neatly back. Kind eyes. The sort of calm maternal face that made people instinctively trust her. "Alana Walker," she said warmly. She extended her hand. "It's good to finally meet you awake." The words landed strangely. What does that mean? Jasmine's smile never faltered. The mind often arrives long before the body does. She gestured towards the hallway. "Come, we have much to discuss." The first night, Alana slept under observation. Electrodes lined her scalp. Monitors hummed softly beside her bed. The room was expensive and sterile all at once. She told herself she wouldn't sleep, that she would force herself awake until sunrise. But exhaustion eventually pulled her under. She woke sometime later to darkness. The room was silent. The monitors glowed faint blue. Something felt wrong immediately. Alana turned toward the observation windows. Her breath caught. Across the hall, every patient sat upright in their beds. Eyes closed, perfectly still, facing her. Rows of sleeping bodies turned toward her in complete silence. Then the monitor beside her bed flickered. The vital signs vanished. Words appeared instead. "Don't let them put you back to sleep." A sound came from the wall behind her. Knock, knock. 2 soft taps. Her stomach dropped. When they were children, 2 knocks had always meant, "It's just me. You're safe." "Caleb." A whisper came from the dark corner of the room. "Laney." His voice. She spun toward it, and darkness swallowed everything. The days blurred. Tests, sleep studies, interviews, observations. Jasmine remained endlessly composed, sometimes unsettling, sometimes almost kind. One evening, after Alana woke sobbing from a nightmare, Jasmine quietly draped a blanket over her shoulders. "You remind me of the patients I couldn't save," she said softly. Alana couldn't tell if it was genuine concern or carefully rehearsed manipulation. That uncertainty frightened her more than cruelty would have. The voices worsened. Sometimes she heard Caleb, sometimes Mia, sometimes herself. One afternoon, she answered a nurse's question and heard Caleb's voice come from her own mouth. No one reacted, only she noticed. Then came the first betrayal. Late one night, Caleb's voice whispered through the dark. "Room 412, the records. Hurry." Desperate to find answers, Alana followed it. The records room was empty, waiting. And as she searched the shelves, every overhead speaker crackled to life at once. Her own voice poured from them. "You still trust what you hear." The entity had worn Caleb's voice, testing her, learning her. From that moment on, she trusted nothing. 2 nights later, she slipped into the clinic's restricted lower levels. The polished luxury vanished below ground. No music, no warmth, only sterile fluorescent light and endless cold hallways. At the end of the deepest corridor, she found the chamber room. Rows upon rows of glass pods glowed soft blue in the dark. Inside each lay a sleeping patient, still, silent. At first, they looked motionless. Then she noticed their mouths, moving, slowly, silently, every patient mouthing words in perfect synchronization. And though no sound escaped their lips, Alana heard them, all of them, speaking in Caleb's voice. "Don't listen." Her breath hitched. At the far end of the room stood one empty pod. Its glass was cracked. The label beneath it read, Caleb Walker. Alana, she turned and saw him, older than memory, thinner, exhausted, but undeniably Caleb. "How do I know it's really you?" she whispered. He said nothing. Instead, knock, knock. 2 soft taps against the glass. Alana broke. Tears flooded instantly. "Caleb." He crossed the room slowly. "I told them not to let you wake up." He told her everything. How, when she was 8, she had whispered into the dark after the death of her childhood dog. "I just want to hear him one more time." And something had answered. That same night, Caleb had woken to find her standing at the foot of his bed, eyes closed, speaking in a voice that wasn't hers. She opened the door. Years later, when his own symptoms surfaced, he entered Woods willingly, believing he could fix it, believing he could protect her. He had been wrong. The entity had no voice of its own. It borrowed from sleeping minds, fed through grief, and it had spent years trying to return to the one who first let it in. Alana. "I stayed to keep it asleep," Caleb said. "Every year I held it back, bought you more time." "Why didn't you come home?" His eyes softened. "Because every time I tried," his voice cracked. "It found you first." The chamber lights flickered. The borrowed voices rose all around them, not as sound, as thought. Thousands of stolen voices screaming through her mind. The entity was waking. Caleb grabbed her shoulders. "If you keep remembering, it will speak through you." "How do we stop it?" He looked at her with unbearable sadness. "You have to sleep again." And she understood. To close the door, she had to forget. Forget the clinic, forget the voices, forget him. Tears streamed down her face. "If I forget," her voice trembled. Did any of this matter? Caleb smiled through his own tears. "You mattered enough for all of it to matter." Then he leaned forward. rested his forehead against hers, and began humming the storm song he used to sing when thunder frightened her as a child. Darkness folded around them, memory unraveled, and Alana let go. She woke in a sunlit recovery room. Everything felt calm, still, safe. Jasmine sat beside the bed. The treatment was successful, she said softly. Alana frowned. Something hollow tugged deep inside her chest. A strange absence she couldn't explain, but the voices were gone. That was enough. Weeks passed, then months. For the first time in years, sleep came easily. No whispers, no nightmares, no fear. One rainy evening, while unpacking old storage boxes, she found a photograph, a childhood snapshot, her younger self smiling at the camera, standing beside someone whose face was blurred beyond recognition, impossible to make out. She stared at it for a long time, and without understanding why, she began to cry. Later that night, absent-mindedly, she hummed a melody she couldn't recognize. Soft, familiar, somewhere deep inside the sleeping dark. A boy heard it and smiled. For the first time in years, sleep came easily. Hope you guys enjoyed another psychological horror story from Ravyn Crowe. But before you go, I want to ask you something. What's the creepiest thing you've ever experienced in a hospital late at night? Maybe hearing strange noises down an empty hallway, seeing someone where nobody should have been, or getting that horrible feeling that something in the room with you wasn't human. Drop your story down in the comments, and who knows? Your experience might inspire a future episode here on VHS After Midnight. Until next time, try not to feel too much.